Hey, good evening, and thank you for joining us on the Political Deep Dive. I'm Dave Valente. Tonight we're talking political tribalism. It's the last show before our 2022 political election coverage that we're going to be doing Tuesday night. But I wanted to bring on special guest Patty Malowney from the grand state of New Mexico. I consider it my home state, but uh, glad to have you on, Patty. How you doing?
I'm good. I was hustling to get here on time, but I'm really good. I love it here in New Mexico. This is my new state, so I moved here from Michigan, so I'm still getting used to the culture here is quite different than the Midwest, and so far I really like it here.
Excellent. I mean, I tell you what, I love New Mexico. The whole tagline of the tourist industry is "It's like a whole nother country," and or it's the land of enchantment, and that it's the culture there is so unique
It
that
is.
it red and green and all that good stuff.
The sixth state I've lived in, so I've lived a few places, and this is the most unique area I've lived in, and it has pride of any place I've lived before. So I think that's pretty cool.
Excellent. So let me bring on our
list.
Sorry, your mic is giving us a lot of feedback. Let me try and adjust something here.
All right.
I'm working on my microphone. Yeah, there's a lot of feedback, Patty. We're either going to have to mute you when you're not talking, or if you have a.
Well, the setting is the volume, and I have a mic, but when I put it on, then I can't hear you. So I can try connect with my laptop, or I can just mute when I'm.
Well, the one other thing I was going to say is that if you go to settings at the bottom and then choose audio, there's a thing that says echo cancellation. And if you turn that on, that might help.
Except for that I'm not settings. Oh, yeah, I am. Here they are.
There I am.
There he is.
It's good so far.
On, so no, I don't know.
No, that's good.
Is
no,
that better?
Yeah,
it was.
All right, we'll figure it out. I've often thought that all of these things should be pressed to speak. Look, see, right now it's good. So I don't know if you're muting yourself or not, but now it's good.
I muted it, but wait a minute. Now we're not hearing it. So here we go.
Yeah, that's good.
All right.
So hold that thought. While I was wrestling with my OBS, I neglected to get a beer. So let me just go get a beer, and I'll be right back.
Well, you do that. I do have a beer tonight. I am not going to drink it for a while, but it's the Yingling's Hershey Porter. Very tasty. Sorry, everybody. We're doing technical difficulties here while we fix everything up and get ready to go. I can't. Patty, you're not on. Oh. Yeah, I can't hear you. Tell you what, Patty, try with your laptop. See if you can get on your laptop, and then we'll see you in a few. While Dan and I talk about other things.
Let's talk about pop music. Talk about pop music.
Pop music. What brand of pop music are you interested in, Dan?
Well, I think that I was watching the bumper video, and it says pop culture in it, and so I'm like, I can't think of two guys really better set up to talk about popular culture. Two guys who just have their finger on the pulse of young people today.
Absolutely.
If I can quote Zapod Beeblebrox, I am so hip, I have trouble seeing over my pelvis. But so pop music, I don't think there was an era when I was really into the pop music of the time, except for maybe if you want to say that like 70s rock was the popular music of its era. So maybe then, but
Yeah.
80s music too, I guess. Certainly, Go-Go's, Oinga Boinga, Echo and the Bunnymen, those sort of groups. I was very into them at the time. And then I just kind of stopped listening to new music.
I see Patty's joined us. I'm waiting for her camera to pop up. But
All right, that sounds good. And I see Sasha's on. What's up, Sasha?
What's up, Sasha?
He's making an interesting point. I could theoretically run I have a Crawford for Treasurer ad lying around, but I don't think we need to bring it in just yet because I'm still drinking. I want to be good and drunk before that.
Oh, what'd you get?
Miller Genuine Draft. Ooh, the Yingling's Hershey Porter. So I had
Yes.
the Yingling Oktoberfest, and it's pretty good.
Is
I
it?
have to say. Yeah, I was surprised.
We got Patty back on camera, so we'll bring her back in. Hey, Patty.
What's up, Patty?
Sorry, this is how every Zoom meeting of my life goes.
All right.
So,
But the sound is good. Round the Rough Rugged Rocks, Two Rascals Band.
yeah, I think it's my phone.
I'm going to say more
So I'm here.
just to make sure there was no echo. I
Yeah.
slid a sheet, I slid upon a slitted sheet, I sit.
That's yeah. I would have cursed. I would have cursed if I did that one.
That's the best one. Peter Piper,
Yeah.
pickled peppers. How many peppers did Peter Piper pick?
Well, maybe I need to do that before I go because I'm doing radio on Tuesday morning talking about the election and
Yep.
and my fear every time I go on radio is that I'm just going to drop an F-bomb. Like that is my constant fear every time I go on broadcast radio is that I'm just going to carpet bomb the F word. So
Well, I always think of the George Carlin's, the 7 words you can't say on
yes,
TV or radio. And like some of them you can say now. Like it used to be that, for example, you couldn't say tits on the radio. And, if I can quote Carlin's thing, he's like, tits. How can tits be one of the 7 worst words possible? Right? I mean, is that really where we are? I mean, come on. It sounds like a snack, right?
exactly.
The hostess is coming out with a bunch of tits. And as a matter of
All
fact,
right.
in
Hold on a
English,
sec.
it is a
Hold on a
bird.
sec. Hold on a sec, Dan. We also have joining us tonight for the first time in a while the sister Care Bear.
The Care Bear was.
So this is going to be the first New Mexico majority show that we've had on, or at least we got 2 New Mexicans on here.
Okay, wait a minute. I don't have I have my driving glasses on, so I can't see anything.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Who else is from New Mexico?
Patty Malowney is from New Mexico. She's our guest.
You said
tonight
my
talking.
name right. I am so impressed with you. Tracy doesn't even say
Patty. Hi.
I cheated because I went on your. I'm. In fact, while we're here, we were talking about it. I went on your YouTube channel and I watched one of your videos and I saw how you pronounced your name, so I wanted to make sure I got it right. So
And
You
if you're out there,
We've been dating 2 years and he still says it wrong.
Tell them to watch more of your videos.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch your last name.
It's Malowney, but it's very similar to Maloney. I think when we came over that somebody didn't know how to spell it. So
No
that's
doubt.
my guess.
that's all right.
Yeah.
With the last name Valente, Kara and I have been called Valentine our entire lives. So
Here in New Mexico, Valencia, quite often.
Valencia, yeah, absolutely. So, Patty, we've been talking a while about getting you on the show, but what you just did a video about the idea of linos, dinos, and rhinos, and the whole idea of political tribalism. So,
And
tell me, kind of go in a nutshell of what your video was about, and also talk about your YouTube channel. Where can people find you?
okay. So I have my fiance has been trying to get me to get on YouTube for a while, but I'm a big chicken, and I finally just decided to give it a shot, and it's doing really well. In fact, the Rhino, Lino, and Dino, and nobody says Lino, but that was actually my first one that was really successful, and I got a lot of comments. And not like, I'm trying to create content that's not just for people like me, libertarians. I want people to find it that are outside of my little echo chamber. So this one was really nice because I started noticing, because we've always had the little faction issues in the Libertarian Party, but and I've always known about the rhinos, but they're starting to have these problems everywhere. Every single political party is getting really, really faction driven, and they're all trying to like control the party and not just our party. Every party's doing it. And so I started researching it because I find it interesting how much we've changed and how people can't even have conversations with someone anymore if you aren't in the same party and you don't agree. And even if you are in the same party, if you're on this camp and not in this camp, like, you can't even be friends anymore. And that's something that's really bothering me. And I'm trying to, with my channel, I'm trying to bring in a diverse group of people that can have conversations and a little give take. And because I don't like the culture in politics. I became politically active a few years ago, and it didn't used to be quite so bad. And now, like, it's terrible. I'm sure you've seen it. And I watched your last video where you were talking about making friends with people that don't agree with you. I think that's the first step on changing the culture. And something I'm trying to do, like in my personal life and on my social media, because Facebook only feeds me white men, and that's about it. I'm just saying, that's for friend suggestions.
Patty, about 15, maybe a few more years ago than that, my personal hero, former President Jimmy Carter, wrote a book, and it was called Talking Peace. It's a great book. And his whole thesis on this book was that we've become so and this was 15, 17 years ago, we've become so fundamental in our politics and our religion that we don't even speak to each other anymore. We don't even have conversations. Sorry, I'm babysitting my dog, my boyfriend's dog, and she loves me, and so she wants to be on me at the moment.
That's all good.
I think we have no problem. I was going to suggest that maybe you turn the camera horizontal so we get a larger screen so we can have both of you on at the same time.
Yes, this is Roxy.
There we go.
And she is an American Bulldog, and she is the sweetest thing ever. And I will tell you that I will be here as long as I can, but I woke up at 2:30 this morning and I couldn't get back to sleep. Oh my God, I took a bath, I did my lesson plans, and I did a whole bunch of work. I washed the dog, I took a crazy lady to the store, and then I'm doing all these things, and then my lovely ladies in the neighborhood here that love me invited me over for margaritas. And so even just a little bit of margaritas, and I am struggling with sobriety and awakeness.
That is awesome.
But my God, look how cute she is.
Yeah.
That's a good looking dog.
And
Roxy is singing the Roxanne song.
Roxy is.
You
wear that dress tonight.
Roxy is solid muscle.
She is solid muscle, but I'll tell you what, this 60-pound American Bulldog is an absolute coward. My daughter has a 10-pound Chiweenie, maybe not even 10 pounds.
Oh, yeah.
And he snapped and growled at Roxy one day, and she ran across the room and jumped into the air and into my arms on the couch. This 60-pound massive missile, and buried her head in my neck and was shaking.
Oh,
So she's no aggressive dog for sure. Very sweet.
You know,
All
it's
about the
interesting.
love.
This site ties into tribalism because, you know, dogs, a Chihuahua, right? It looks nothing like a German Shepherd or a Great Dane or an American Bulldog, but they all know and acknowledge that they're all dogs, and they're willing to sniff each other, you know, do whatever it takes to recognize the fact they're part of that dog community. We have lost that part. That's part of where our tribalism has gone away, and that we're not willing to
sniff each other's butts. Daniel, is that your thesis here?
I think metaphorically, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, if it's figurative, that's what it takes. But you know, that idea that you know, who's the wrestler?
I'm going to say no to that.
Well, I'm just who's the wrestler who used to say, "Do you smell?" It's The Rock, right? Do you smell what The Rock is cooking?
Oh my God!
Smelling, you know, or we say all the time, you know, does this pass the smell test? You know, that's a basic thing about it. We have to have a tolerance of the fact. And you know what? I'm willing to bet that everybody here at one point in their life has had a conversation with somebody whose hygiene was less than impeccable. And
Again, middle school, yes.
Exactly.
I had a kid who was pissed off at me last week, and he was sitting at my work table. We were having one-on-one time. And he looks me in the eyes and he leans over and he farts. And then he goes, "It wasn't me."
wow. That's
I had to restrain my middle finger.
Yeah.
I said, "Don't lie to me. I know you did that. You looked me in the eye and you did that."
So Patty, let's
I
talk
wanted to
about
mention something. One of the things that I found really interesting when I was reading and researching is that people don't date or marry people that don't agree with them on politics anymore. That's like a significant. Yes.
Guilty. Okay, I've got a story with this. So I got divorced from my husband we were married over 20 years. My children's father. In 2016, we split up. 2017, we split up. And my friends on my commuter train said, you need to get out there, join a site, and start looking. And I put on my profile page, if you support or like Donald Trump, please keep moving. We have nothing to talk about. Guilty. And do you know how many messages I got from guys saying another open-minded libtard? But honestly, what would we have talked about? And I did have a guy who asked me out. We went out, lunch date, middle of the day, and he confessed to me, "I lied. I really do like Donald Trump, but I wanted to meet you. And I feel really bad, but not so much anymore, that I excused myself to go to the bathroom and I called an Uber and I left."
Dang.
I was totally guilty of that.
Thanks.
But I mean, seriously, I wasn't interested in him after 5 minutes of conversation. But for me, it wasn't about the fact that he liked Trump. It was the fact that he lied about it.
Yeah,
that's not unreasonable.
No.
I've only dated a handful of people between my marriage and meeting Tracy, who's also a libertarian. We agree on almost everything except for a few things. But yeah, I didn't have that. I have Republicans that like me, MAGA people, and I just can't mesh with. I went out with a Democrat one time and he talked about politics the whole time. And it was like talking about regulations and like, I can't talk about this and get along with you.
Sure. What was, because I understand regulatory policy is not exactly sexy.
I can't remember, to be honest with you, all the things we were talking about, but the entire conversation was politics. And I know that I'm politically active, so people that would go out with me would want to talk politics. But if we're going to disagree on every single thing, it's just not going to work. And I've had it with both Republicans and Democrats that, I'm libertarians or independent people, and even maybe apolitical people I get along with the best. As far as my girlfriends, a lot of them are Democrats. I haven't found that many Republican girlfriends, but I don't know if that's just because of who I circle in. But that was the biggest thing I found interesting when I was reading, is how much people are only connecting with their echo chambers. They're not talking to people outside of their world, so they perspective.
Sure. I went to a conference back in 2019. It was before the pandemic. It was called the People. Dan's back. Pop him in there. We don't see your camera yet, Dan. There we go.
There he is. Where's that handsome guy?
Yeah, so the group was called The People, and they purposely brought together people from all over the country, as many states as they possibly could. It was run by the actor, his name escapes me right now. He was on 90210, but he does a lot of acting.
Luke Perry. Jason Priestley. Luke Perry.
No.
Ian Zierling.
No.
Brian Austin Green.
No.
You're really embarrassing me here by making me name all the members of 90210.
Your dork showing.
You'll get there, Dan. Hey, can I ask something real quick?
Yeah.
There's a comment in the thing. It's the first time I've seen the comments, and it says, "You're very loud." If that's for me, I'm sorry.
No,
I've
that's
had margaritas, and I'm from New Jersey, and so and I teach middle school, so I have to talk over people. So I apologize for being loud.
No apologies. No apologies. It's all good. I think it's more of just kind of the general loudness of everything here. I've adjusted some people's volumes on here.
I'll be more quiet.
There you go. But anyway, so this group, we got together, and it was, Democrats, Republicans. I was one of four libertarians that were there. But we sat down, we started talking about the issues of the day, and one of the things that you realize when you get down to it and you just kind of strip away all of the political labels and discuss the issues of the day, a lot of times you just find out that MAGA Republican or that uber democratic socialist, their concerns are the same as yours.
Yeah,
their concerns are they identify the problems they want to, and their wants and needs are pretty much the same as yours.
a lot of people. The ends that they want are similar.
Yeah, Dan, your mic is muffled, Dan.
It's my fault.
Anyway, let me just finish. But as long as we continue to allow politicians to divide us, because if you look at politics now, it's all finding out which issues divide us to firm us up into these tribal camps, the Democrats, Republicans, Libertarians. As long as we allow them to divide us, then we're never going to be united for any good purpose to fix anything.
Yeah, since we have first past the post politics, the easiest way to win, hopefully my sound is better now.
Yes,
the easiest way to win is to fracture the electorate. And so the smaller you can make the electorate, right? If I know that I have a solid 7% of people who will vote for me, if I can make sure that nobody will vote, that nobody else will get more than 7%, I'm golden. So if I can get 15 candidates to run and they can split all the votes, or I can fracture the electorate some way, I'm going to win with 7% of the vote because of our stupid electoral system. Saturday Night Live did a wonderful sketch, and I encourage everybody to look it up. You've probably seen it before. It's called Black Jeopardy.
Love Black Jeopardy.
Black Jeopardy's fantastic, and they
Not
did
a
one
damn
where
thing, Daniel. Not a damn thing.
yeah, exactly. That's the episode I'm referring to. Is that they have Tom Hanks on as a MAGA guy, and it turns out they all have a lot in common.
I got a guy.
Exactly. And that's one of those things. But I do think that where things break down is when you say, what are the ends that you want? And a lot of times I think, well, if I were to say, what are the ends I want for our society? What's the end game? Somebody told me the other day, I was writing a mission statement. The mission statement should be, when this is achieved, my organization the vision statement for my organization should be, when this is achieved, my organization will no longer exist because we'll have achieved our vision. So, for me, I have a vision. My vision does not involve equality for everybody, because that actually would be, an incredibly abhorrent system. I don't want a system that's going to make me be equal with everybody, because I'm not. In some ways I can do a lot of things really well. There are other things that I'm terrible at, but I, viva la différence. But there are some people who are like, no, we really want equality, absolute equality across the board. And that's where you sort of start to see things start to break down.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Patty, can tribalism be good?
Okay, sure. I mean, yes.
Well,
Patty's
see,
frozen.
this is the thing that I found
Oh, there
interesting.
we go.
And I'm having
Your
a
camera's
slow
frozen, but
stream
now
here.
I can see you. Now you're moving.
Because I have terrible internet service, which is why I was using my phone, which I might have to
Because you
switch
live in
over.
New Mexico.
Yes, and there is no high. I've searched, and I live on a farm, and this is what I got.
Are you in
So,
Albuquerque?
The thing. Yep, I am in Albuquerque, and but where we live, there's no high.
Easily.
I recognize part of the problem is that we have two people on from New Mexico at the same time, and that's using up all the state's bandwidth.
You're using all the bandwidth.
That's probably true.
We live on the edge of Albuquerque. No APD, just Bernalillo County sheriffs.
Unincorporated land.
So they don't shoot off it.
The way to get citizenship in New Mexico is being able to spell Bernalillo while drunk.
Pointing it out on a map.
So the thing that I found when I was researching, because I spent, and I was trying to read another book before I got on the show, but I didn't get it all done. So there was a few things I found interesting. One is that we're having tribalism, but also how to fix it. And I think some of us, I suspect that in the next few years, and maybe I'm just optimistic, but I'm starting to think people are getting fed up with this, and that this may ultimately help us independent thinkers. Some of us are, I mean, I really do. Everybody's been saying for the last, I don't know how long, that they wish we had more options, but they don't like any of the options, I guess. I don't know. But what I do know is that connecting with people outside of your circle helps them to see you're not really that different from them. I have a lot of friends that aren't, like I had a friend, a lady I sent a friend request to like a couple of years ago, and she said, sorry, I don't think I can be friends with you because you're a libertarian. Because she had a perception of what a libertarian was. And I said, I don't remember what I said. I said something nice, and we've become pretty good friends because I'm not the image she has of a libertarian. And I get frustrated as someone who wants to grow libertarian. I'm just going to be honest. I know that everybody here is not all in the Libertarian Party anymore, but I want to see, I've been in love with the Libertarian Party a really long time, and I want to see it blow up. And we can't do that if we only want a certain group of people, because most people don't think like we do. And we're not going to get them to think like us if we don't want them to be part of us until I'm not wording myself the way I want to, but people change their mindset gradually. And
Yeah.
Republicans move to Democrats. And the other thing I'm noticing is that our political parties themselves seem to be shifting a lot right now. A lot of the frustrated Republicans are now moving over to the Libertarian Party or the Ford Party. And a lot of Democrats are moving over to the Republican Party. And I'm kind of curious how our political parties will act.
No, we're not.
Yeah.
I promise you.
Some of them are. Some of them are.
Who?
Some of them are.
The Blue Dogs. The former Blue Dogs have no real home.
Andrew Yang. Andrew Yang would be the perfect example of somebody who moved to the Forward Party.
Tulsi Gabbard. I'll give you Tulsi.
No, but Tulsi didn't.
Yeah,
go
and
forward.
Tulsi Gabbard is really changed her views, and I think some Democrats are going to follow her.
I disagree. I think she's coming back to her. She's coming back to her old homophobic views. That's why she's more.
I made another video on her, and that is like my most popular video right now. She's got a lot of fans, and I am trying not to offend any of them, but I'm not a Tulsi fan.
I mean, I do think a lot. I'm like, you know what? If Tulsi were an old white man with her political views, would she be as popular as she is today? I don't think so. I think you can find a million old white guys who have exactly the same views as her.
Yeah.
And now, you know, she's in this situation where, right, I mean, going out and campaigning for Herschel Walker, how can you possibly do that? I mean, because that guy, he is unfit for office by any definition. Now, we have to be honest about it. Let's be honest about the fact that Herschel Walker has made fewer gaffes in the last 2 weeks than Joe Biden, right? Herschel Walker knows how many states there are. Herschel Walker didn't go to an event and then call out for a dead person asking where she was, why she wouldn't come up and meet him, which Joe did today.
But Herschel Walker's not 80. And Herschel, do you know where Herschel Walker stands on abortion?
I assume that
depends on who needs it.
He stands at the ATM. That's where he stands.
Well, I mean, it depends on who needs the abortion. If Herschel needs the abortion, it's going to happen.
Right. Yeah. He's terrible. But let's take the politics aside, because that's part of the problem. That's the tribalism problem. Okay. I definitely disagree with this politics. We're very different. But that guy is so obviously incapable of holding office, right? I mean, he committed a felony during the debate. It is a felony to impersonate a police officer. And he said, I am a police officer. And he held up a badge. So,
oh my God.
Right.
I know.
He's clearly, and you know, he is a well-established liar, even going back into his football days. And I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan. Okay.
He can't count to 21 unless he's naked.
Well, he's not. It's not so much that he's a liar. I mean, he's well documented to say that he's got multiple personalities. I don't know who we're dealing with on a day-to-day basis in this thing.
You can't. I mean, this is. I posted about this earlier today on Facebook.
I think one of them was smart.
I do wish that we could have a basic competency. Like if I had $1 billion, if I win Powerball, which I mean, I'm planning on it.
Me too.
Me too.
Bastards.
I'm a teacher.
In that case, I was going to share you my secret numbers, but I'm not going to now.
Damn you.
But if I win Powerball, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put up a thing that every congressperson who comes, every federally elected person who comes and takes my basic competency test, I will donate $1 million to their district. So it makes a lot of sense for a congressperson to come do it. We just have some basic tests, right? You know, addition and addition.
Is this the one that Trump passed?
Huh?
Is this the one that Trump passed?
Yeah, exactly. Right. Name the 7 continents.
7 orbs,
things like that. But you know, it is relevant. And the problem is that we are so tribal that we don't care about a person's competency at all. And there have been some examples of this, you know, relatively recently. So Massachusetts, people might remember there was a guy who was elected from, who ran for president named Paul Tsongas from Massachusetts. And he was
I
a
remember.
senator. Okay. When Paul Tsongas died, they elected his wife to the office. Okay. She hadn't done anything except for being married to him.
Yeah.
Come to think of it, there's another example of that in politics. But
Mel Carnahan.
Ruth Carnahan, yeah. Mel Carnahan and Ruth Carnahan. Yeah.
Yep. Plenty of stuff like that. And I do want to say that I don't consider Hillary Clinton an example of this. Hillary Clinton was in the top 50 lawyers in the United States long
Well,
before.
she ran on her own in a district that she never represented before.
Now, right. She should not have been elected senator from New York, but I don't have a problem with her running for president.
No.
But yeah, no, I mean, there's a famous joke. Hillary and Bill are driving in a limousine, and Hillary looks out and she says, "Oh, look, there's John Smith." She's like, "He was my boyfriend back in high school." And Bill's like, "Well, aren't you glad you married me? Because now you're married to the president of the United States." Hillary said, "Oh, if I'd married him, I'd still be married to the president of the United States."
So
That's a pretty good one.
Patty, tell me what is the cure for? I mean, we've kind of talked about it. Is really communication, but really, is that the only cure for tribalism?
And more cowbell.
More, of course.
You know, I think I think some of this. I'm an optimist, so that's me. But I think some of it is social media, like Facebook, and I'm not a proficient at Twitter because they're mean over there. So I don't use it as much, but
meaner now.
Yeah, they're mean to me, and I don't use it as much. So I don't know. I like Facebook because I can control who I'm friends with, and if you don't like me, then I've got a vetted friend list. So, but I think that getting off of one social media and expanding your network, like one thing I've done, and honestly, I think everyone has to start doing it, and I don't know, but I think the less we stay on a social media platform that only feeds us what we want to hear, the more like news channels, and I think this is changing because I do search engines for a living, so I'm really excited to see how many search engines are starting to be the preferred search engine. I think as we break up some of these things where people are only getting their information, only getting their social media, only getting everything from one place, maybe this will change things. I do think having these new social media platforms, and some of them I don't use, for the alternative places that people are going to, I haven't made up my mind if that's going to make things worse or make things better. But I do think having more options for connecting with people is going in the long term is going to be good. That's my thought, but I don't know. I can't predict the future, but I like the fact that we don't just now have Facebook and Twitter. We have Discord, we have Parler, we have Rumble. We have a lot of different platforms. I think that might help break up the echo chambers.
Mastodon. Let's plug Mastodon. For people who are familiar with it, Mastodon is an open source alternative to Twitter. The difference is that unlike Twitter, which has a centralized server, when you create your account, you now are your own server. And so people subscribe to you and they get your feed and that's it. But then you subscribe to whoever else you want to. So you're not seeing all of Twitter at once. You don't have to see small-minded bigots if you don't want to. And, the interesting thing about that is that when you talk about, you don't want to be exposed to just your own echo chamber. On the other hand, I also don't want to be exposed to, the aforementioned small-minded bigots. I am interested in hearing some of what those people say because I want to be aware of what's being said. That sort of thing. There's I have a joke for every story. There's a famous thing about two Jews back in the old country. And one of them sits down and he sees a guy is reading the local anti-Semitic newspaper. He says, Shlomo, what are you doing reading this paper? He's like, I like to see how powerful we are. So that sort of thing. I like to be. Keep somewhat aware of sort of the hate groups that are out there, but I don't want to be friends with those guys. I don't want to have them on my feed on a regular basis. When I see somebody say that, as the vice chair of the Libertarian Party recently said, the 19th Amendment should be repealed. Yeah, I don't need to be friends with that guy.
No, he's a piece of shit. But
right. Why would I date that person? No.
Right.
No, I'm sorry. Like, the aforementioned current vice chair of the Libertarian Party is sharing, Kanye with an iron cross.
I didn't know that.
No, that's all right.
A lot of the people that I don't like in the Libertarian Party, I blocked sometime around the time I blocked my ex-husband.
Yeah.
So I just pretty much know that if I block you, you're not somebody, like, I'm not that quick to block someone. You must be a schmuck. So,
yeah.
Right.
I mean, to your point, though, I think for a while, these new channels that are coming out, and we're on quite a few right now. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, we're on Twitch, we're on Twitter. So we got a ton of different channels that we're on. But the new ones coming out, I think, are separating out people that only want that specific group that they associate with.
That's what I'm trying to decide. If they're going to make things worse, where these people are in their own echo chamber.
I think it will for a while. I think the solution to it, though, is really almost an old-fashioned solution, and that is get out into your community and get out and start joining groups like Ruritans or Civitans or American, the United Way and groups like that in your communities, and learning how to serve your communities, because you're going to get with people who may not believe exactly as you do, but you have a similar goal in helping your community. And then you can start talking to them, and maybe you bring them around to your line of thinking, or maybe they bring you around to their line of thinking. It's an exchange of ideas, and the best ideas will win. At least within you.
Maybe you reach the conclusion that it's okay for you to each have your own opinion on this sort of thing as well.
Absolutely.
Because that's a critical one, is that I don't have to win every political argument. I mean, I just do because I'm awesome in argument. But in terms, what I really want is I want us to understand each other, and so that I know why you're doing the stuff that you do, and you understand why I'm doing the stuff that I do, and we respect each other enough that we let each other follow the same path. And that's where, that's where a lot of politics breaks down, because there is, I don't think in any major party, I don't think that there is a basic respect for the idea that people ought to be able to do their own thing. They always say, you know what, this thing is so important. This is the thing that is so important that you have to do what I think is right. And
I agree with you to a point, and maybe it's the two-party system thing that I'm seeing, because that's what predominates. But I don't see that I can develop a commonality with someone who thinks it's okay to kidnap the governor of Wisconsin or Michigan. It's okay to assassinate Nancy Pelosi or even Mike Pence. That what has happened to the Republican Party, it goes beyond tribalism, and it's a cult. And I don't see where I can hope to have a reasonable discourse, or even kind of wake someone in that position, in that trance of Trumpism.
They're going to break up the
out of that trance and have a reasonable conversation.
If you think about it, the thing that you find objectionable about Trumpism, though, is that they want you to live according to their rules. right?
No, I think what I find objectionable about it is that they think that if you don't agree with them, it's okay to be hunting us.
That they want you to live
my-
according to their rules.
Yeah. But Patty, what you got?
So I have a couple of thoughts, and I really would like opinions on this, because the idea I keep getting from listening to other people in our party and in other political parties is that we need this bold. I think Trump set a bad precedent where people think that we need this bold bro messaging to reach through to people. And I'm not sure if I'm just old and old school, or if people are looking for somebody that can speak well. Like, I think one of the reasons people are attracted to Tulsi Gabbard is because she talks well. She's well spoken. She doesn't sound like an idiot. She's more of what we've seen from politicians in the past. And lately, all it's been is who can do the craziest crap. And I'm wondering if that culture is going to start changing because people want somebody to lead them, or if culture has just changed so far, it's never going back. I don't know. I like the Ford Party I did a video on, although I wouldn't join the Ford Party. I kind of like the message they're putting out. I think that messaging, that style of messaging could start winning people over, because we're all sick of this. I think most people are, but I don't know if maybe that's just me, but I don't think so. I've heard enough people say they're sick of politics that if we could get a really good leader that could talk like a Ronald Reagan or a JFK instead of what we've had for the last, I don't know how long, then maybe that would pull people together. Like if somebody was messaging that and I don't see anyone doing it.
Well,
so
but
I don't know.
It did happen, right? I mean, Barack Obama's numbers were incredible. If he could have run for a third term or fourth term, he would still be in office.
And Daniel, have you seen him speaking on the campaign trail in the last week? I wept. Like, where are we? Where are the people that have the ability to compose a message and deliver it in such a passionate and succinct and brilliant way that speaks to the heart? I mean, say what you will about Obama, but the man was a master when it comes to that.
Yeah, I was in a talk with the pollster, the Republican pollster.
Gallup.
No, not Gallup. No,
Quinnipiac.
No.
Yeah.
Dude that does like
Nate Silver.
Fox does their polling.
I don't know.
The Frank Luntz. I'm sorry, Frank Luntz. So Luntz, he gets on and he talks about political messaging, and he talks, he shows a video of George Bush doing a speech, and then he shows a video of Barack Obama, and he said Barack Obama is such a master communicator because, like, when he talked about comparison politics, rather than trashing the party, he would, it was in the sequence of how he would present the idea. He would always present the positive idea first and the negative idea second. So the positive idea, this is what we're presenting versus what they're presenting. The positive idea of what we're presenting versus the negative idea of what they're presenting. But he always emphasized the positive idea that he was presenting. And that's why he was such a master, spokesperson for his ideas.
Well, and he carried warmth and class and grace and all of the things that.
Well, it was a much more positive message than what we've seen over the last several years. Is that we are, we're inundated with negative political advertising. But when you look at some of the most successful politicians over the last 50 years, when you look at a Reagan, when you look at an Obama, their messaging was always much more hopeful, much more positive, much more keyed on to the
inclusive
good things of what we're doing and what we want to do. And definitely inclusive.
But
and
I think we're ignoring a part of that, which is that each successive system begets the next one. Okay. And so for Republicans who are mad about Barack Obama and his big numbers, they have to recognize the fact Obama doesn't pull those big numbers if George Bush doesn't prosecute this incredibly unpopular war and get reelected in 2004, right? Democrats are flabbergasted that Bush gets reelected in 2004, but he does. And so, they're essentially stuck with that. So then they get Obama coming up. And remember, it almost wasn't Obama, right? It almost was Hillary. In the end, it was, the Kennedys, because of the Kennedys' hatred of the Clintons, that they said, you know what, we're going to back Barack Obama because we don't want to see another Clinton get into office. And that's what sort of swung things. But so then Obama comes in. But, what happens? The ACA. Okay. The biggest thing that happened in that situation, and say whatever else you want to about it. There were 43 votes and all the Republican members of the House voted to repeal it. And those people didn't go home and lose elections. Okay.
Right.
They were representing their people. That was a very unpopular bill that was passed with a small majority. And each
It was
party
popular enough to pass with a majority, though.
But that's the problem. If we sit around and we say, okay, what are the things that we should pass with a majority? There's a famous statement of, democracy has to be more than two sheep and a wolf voting on what's for dinner. Everything that has been done that's terrible in America's history was legal. Slavery was legal. Okay.
Jim Crow was legal.
I
wouldn't compare slavery and Jim Crow to providing health care to people who need it. I think it's an unfair trope.
But so that's exactly what I was talking about in the beginning, is that there is this core thing about what are you willing to force other people to do? Okay, what are you willing to make them do? Because the problem is that every time you cross that bridge, you make people fight because they're like, you made me fight you. Okay. And so what are the things that we're going to say? Yeah, we're going to make you fight us on this. Okay. And we're going to make it happen. And if you don't like it, you're just going to have to fight us because you have no other option about it. And we look at the big intransigent spots in the country, in the world, right? I mean, Ireland figured their way out. Israel and Palestine, good Lord, right? And those guys are looking at a situation where like, we're just going to have to fight because we can't resolve it anymore. And American politics is getting to that spot because each time we elect a majority, they're like, you know what? We're going to do every single thing that we can get away with because we've got this small majority right now.
Yeah.
And
they claim it as a mandate.
Exactly. We have to take advantage of it. You can look at plenty of things, right? I mean, Republicans would argue, yeah, we had this, we had a majority. I mean, Republicans had an overwhelming majority to invade Iraq, right? And yet, here we are in this situation where like everybody's now, oh, it's a bad idea. We shouldn't have done it. Barack Obama had the good fortune to have not been in office, so he didn't have to vote to authorize invading Iraq. Hillary Clinton did. But we keep the system of rubbing the other guy's noses in it, as opposed to saying, you know what? Let's have this system. I mean, it's a great example, Cara, because you talk about, the healthcare system. So Massachusetts passed a healthcare system that is essentially Romney Care, exactly right. And in fact, it was better. It is better than the ACA, but it's better than the ACA because Massachusetts at the time was a state that had a household income of $80,000. Okay. The system that makes sense for that people overwhelmingly approved, right? 67% of people essentially approved the ACA, but it's a system that works better the more people who are involved in it. Romney's a brilliant businessman. He's like, this is how we make it work. We actually socialize the risk. We get everybody involved in it, and we'll be able to prove that in doing that, we're going to bring down costs and we're going to make better outcomes. And here's the thing. If it worked, and we talked about this in Massachusetts, what happened? If it worked, everybody else in New England would be knocking on the door. Connecticut would want to join. New Hampshire would want to join. Maine would want to join. We wouldn't let Maine join because they don't brush their teeth. But in general, if the system really works well, people are going to want to join in with that. And whatever else we want to say about it, when they made a system, they said everybody else has to do it this way. Even some red states that had pretty good health care. Tennessee had a pretty good public health care system. And I consider Tennessee a pretty red state. They had to give it all up because of this idea that we're going to make you do it this way. And we're meant to be 50 states united. Okay. That's where our tribalism is supposed to be, right? 50 engines of democracy. They put it in our name. We're supposed to be 50 states united, not 50 states unified. And if people don't like it, they get to go wherever the heck they want. There's this great theory called the frontier thesis. It says that the reason why the United States is different from every other country is that for the first 150 years of our history, if you didn't like the way things were going, you could move 50 miles west and you were outside of the United States again. And so you could do whatever you want to. And so we have this independent pioneer frontier spirit. Can't do that anymore, right? You can't, there's nowhere to go. So now we have the situation where we have to say, okay, we all have to live with each other. But we also know the consequences of pushing people too far. Okay. And it ends up being terrible, right? We have a capacity for unbelievable violence in our society. And that's terrible. And we shouldn't live in fear of it. We shouldn't make politics about it. But we should recognize the fact that none of this stuff happens in a vacuum. And in the same way that, you know, taking care of people is also an important thing to be done. None of that happens in a vacuum either. If you don't want the system to blow up, you have to be responsible and you have to take care of people and recognize that our duty in society, the duty of the wealthy people, is to do what they can to provide for the system that got them there. But
social contract.
Yeah, instead we've thrown all of that away and say, you know what? We're not going to have a system where people are voluntarily charitable to each other, because instead we're going to have a system where government makes everybody be charitable to everybody. And so we've replaced that idea.
Doesn't work.
It's in.
You've got some great comments in the comment section, and I don't want to say this, but I have to go to bed. I have to get up at 5 in the morning.
Made a very good comment about something that I'm curious and wondering, because I was reading a book before I came in here regarding, and I didn't get enough into it to really give a whole lot of info, but I do think he's spot on that they are, both parties take advantage of uneducated voters. And just from me talking to people, one of the things I think we can do as politically active people, that I'm trying to do with my channel and my website, is create content for people that aren't like us, that don't watch the news all the time. They don't know what's going on. I've knocked on a ton of doors, and most voters aren't that smart. And when I talk about this, I have people telling me I'm stupid, and I'm like, no, I knocked on doors. Most voters vote on who they like, who they relate, who resonates with them. And that's one of the things Trump figured out. He talked about the things they cared about. And I see it going on in every political party, except for probably the Libertarian, maybe not. But most voters aren't that smart. They vote with their feelings. And I think that both the Republicans and the Democrats take advantage of that. And if we could start educating voters on things without insulting them, but teaching them stuff so that they know. For me, like as a libertarian, the big thing I hear from people is they have some gist that we just don't care about anybody. We don't want to. We're not. My experience with libertarians is that we are the most charitable, generous people, but they see us as like greedy people that just want wealthy capitalists to trickle down economics. You know what I mean? I'm sure you've seen it. And how we change that is to educate. And well, it doesn't help that that's what we talk about. A lot of us talk about the most, but I think educating voters. I've tried to talk about the libertarians I know talk about taxation is theft, which nobody understands. So you mean we don't pay? Nobody understands. They talk about ending the Fed. They don't even know what the Fed is. They don't know what it is. Like, I think we would be better down to people's level. Well, whether you're Republican, and the Republicans and Democrats know how to do that. That's why they're pulling in voters, because they speak to their emotions.
But that and, you know, they have this system that they've had in place for a long time. One of the big things I've been sort of trying to organize recently is...
Hold on a second, Dan. Carrie, you said you needed to go. lay
I
down?
do.
Go.
I'm about to fall asleep. I love you
Night.
guys.
I love you
Will you
too.
connect me to Patty?
Yeah, absolutely.
I
I
want
will.
to get to know her better because we're on different sides of the political coin, and I'd like to get to know her more.
But
Yeah.
you both live in the land of
Right off.
enchantment.
And
That's
we
right.
lived in the land of entrapment.
I would like to get to
Enchantment.
know you too. So,
All right.
Red and
so
Okay.
green.
I have a YouTube Patty for Liberty website. You can check out and find me there. Or
Okay.
I'm the only Patty Malowney on Facebook, I'm pretty sure. So you can find
Yeah.
me
Oh,
on
okay.
Facebook.
I'll hook you guys up.
I'm the Cara Valente that isn't a Brazilian pop song.
I'm the only David Valente. Well, I'm the David
Okay.
Valente who's not the Brazilian pop player who plays with his feet.
So it's
He
funny.
has no arms.
We'll
What?
let you go. We'll let you go first, Kara. But I have tried to friend all the other Daniel Fishmans on Facebook. None of them have responded.
You're so
Bastard.
weird.
So there's a David Valente that is a multimillionaire real estate guy up in Vancouver. But there's a David Valente who is a Brazilian pop star who is famous because he has no arms and plays musical instruments with his feet.
Well, there's a song called Cara Valente. It's spelled the same way, and it means brave face.
Nice.
Thanks, Mom and Dad.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay.
The,
I love you guys. Have a wonderful week. I'll see you next week. Read the comments because they're really cool.
Yeah, they are. I love the
so
comments.
we
Daniel
Fishman
Fishman is a freak.
Yeah.
Fishman's a freak. That's great. Kyle Rock, Craig Rocks, James. Hi, James.
James
I
in
hope
West
you all have a
Virginia.
wonderful week. Pour one out for your homies.
Word.
Word to. We can't say that anymore, do?
What?
You can. Word to your mother.
Word to your
Yeah,
mother.
we can't. Word to mom.
Word to your mother.
Word to
Because
mom.
mom was gangsta.
Remind me to send you $25 per
Okay.
bank account. Send us a check for $50. I'm splitting it with you.
Nice.
All right.
Thanks, mom.
Thanks, Mom. All right. Love you guys. Have a great week.
Love you too,
See
Care
you
Bear.
later.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. Let's quiz it up, baby. I'm ready for
Yeah,
the
let's
quiz.
do the quiz.
Yes, damn it.
Hey,
Care
Bye.
Bear.
Good night.
All right.
How do we get out of
So,
here?
I don't know.
I'll figure
Click
it
the,
out.
yeah, just close the window.
There we go. All right. Let's share the quiz.
Bum, 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 bum.
We are getting quizzical. All right. So the CNN 5 Things Weekly News Quiz debuts this week. Well, I'm gonna
I think you should turn off
move
comments
us.
for right now so the quiz can
Yep.
be bigger.
Sorry, chatters. We'll get back to you in a second. If you have any guesses on the news quiz, let us know. Let me remove the caption.
We know that's
here.
Toto Morto. That's the asterisks.
Yep, asterisk 1. It's probably more regarding because
This is
came out
Pride
October
celebration.
3rd. Pride, yeah.
Dude, that's such a funny
El
joke.
Dia de los Muertos.
See?
Yeah. And this is probably regarding the no-hitter that they threw because it came
Maybe.
out before the they won
Before they
the
won.
So,
SOC,
all right,
yes.
question number 1. Which social media platform is considering charging for verified accounts on its site? It's easy.
Yeah,
Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, or Facebook.
it's clearly Twitter.
It is Twitter.
Which is, I mean, so here's, I think we talked about this last week, but if not, I formalized it more in my head. Here's the best way to monetize Twitter. Okay. So for whatever you want to charge for a premium account.
Yeah.
All posts get delayed for 15 minutes, except for the person who posted them and for everybody who has a premium account. So for 15 minutes, only premium people get to post on stuff.
Nice.
Oh, Patty, it wasn't that bad of an idea. Oh, you're
There
back.
we go. She's back. Oh, we lost your audio, Patty.
I turned my hotspot on my phone because my internet on my phone is better than my internet on my
It sounds good right now.
Yeah, sounds great.
Yep.
All right, so Twitter, yeah, they consider to pay for verification feature, which will give the coveted blue check mark. Now, here's the problem. I know a lot of people are aggravated at the fact that Twitter is going to charge for their blue check mark because I think a lot of people have made that blue check mark their entire personality, especially the people that have gotten the blue check mark, that they're mad that now people can pay $8 for it. I also heard rumors that people paid a lot of money for blue check marks in the
That is
past.
exactly true. Is that
And now it's going to be $8 a month.
exactly? You could slip $2,000 or $3,000 to a Twitter employee and go to the head of the class.
Exactly. So I think that's much more likely the case for
Yeah,
Twitter.
I mean, considering the fact I've been selling, holy relics for a while now, I don't see anything wrong with selling the Twitter blue accounts.
Exactly. Which city this week agreed to pay $26 million to two men wrongly convicted for Malcolm X's murder? Atlanta, Chicago, Houston, or New York? It was in New York, wasn't it?
I thought it was in New York too.
Yeah.
It would be interesting if New York agreed to that, but sure, let's try it.
I mean,
Unless you know Patty. Patty, do you know this one?
Tracy's feeding me the answers to this because I don't know. He says Chicago.
So Chicago is
Chicago.
where he was from, where Elijah Muhammad was from. So
well, yeah, but Malcolm X was New York, and I thought the assassination took place in New York, and
I thought so too, but
the conviction would likely occur
I'm willing
there.
to go. I'm willing to go with Chicago.
All right, let's do Chicago. It's New York.
It was New York.
It
All
was
right,
New York.
Tracy, you're out.
Fired
Dia
All right,
de los
it is-
Muertos. We know this one.
Yeah. In addition to Halloween, which holiday was celebrated this week, Dia de los Muertos, the Mexican holiday, Dia de los Muertos, Day of the Dead, extends over the first 2 days of November, which is celebrated this week with colorful traditions. Everyone loves the sugar skulls; they're awesome.
Yep.
But it's a really cool holiday, and I love Dia de los Muertos.
See.
Question number 4. A no-hitter was thrown this week
Good
for
Lord.
just the second time in World Series history. Which two teams are competing in the Major League Baseball's championship?
All right, you tell us, Patty.
I used to follow baseball, and now I couldn't tell you, but I can't
All right.
see your screen is the
Does-
problem. So you're gonna have to read them to me.
Does Tracy know who the two teams were?
No,
So-
he doesn't.
Here are the four.
Can you read them to me because I can't see them? My vision sucks.
All right. So the first choice is Houston Astros versus the New York Yankees. Second choice is Houston Astros versus the LA Dodgers. Houston Astros and the Philadelphia Phillies. And the fourth choice is Houston Astros and the San Diego Padres.
Well, I'm gonna go with the Yankees, but I could be totally wrong on that
We're gonna have to overrule you. It
Yeah.
was the
because
Phillies.
I don't watch baseball anymore. So,
They did beat the Yankees in the American League Championship.
well, that's
They
all
did.
right. I don't watch sports, and I know y'all do.
Yeah.
do.
We are sports aficionados.
Yep. I actually started a rival hockey show to Dave's also on Thursday night. No.
Damn you.
All right.
All right. Question number 5. Which company said it would soon seek approval for the first vaccine to prevent respiratory syncytial virus,
It's Pfizer.
RSV? Is
Pfizer.
it Pfizer?
Yeah.
Yes. Pfizer said it will seek FDA approval this week for vaccine to prevent RSV, which, if you haven't been following the news, RSV is huge. It's knocking out bunches of schools. It's particularly harmful for younger kids. So interesting. 33 million infections in children under the age of 5, and hospitalized 3.6 million annually.
You know, the interesting thing about it is that a lot of the resurgence of RSV is just because we were so cooped up for 2 years and didn't have school and stuff.
Yeah.
Like that. But this is the real promise of mRNA, is that, we essentially have a machine now that you put a virus in one end and the vaccine comes out the other end. And it takes, 2 to 3 weeks. and that is going to change healthcare significantly in our lifestyles. You know, people who are under 50, you have no idea what your 80s are going to be like. They're probably going to be a lot healthier if you want them to be. So I encourage everybody to don't be like me and Dave. Be thin, be healthy.
Hey, I'm under 50, so my 80s are going to be on crack.
That's funny.
All right, question number 6. Benzene, a cancer-causing chemical, which was recently detected in several batches of which common household product? Paper towels, laundry detergent, dish soap, or dry shampoo?
I can't believe it's dry shampoo, just because
that shit's toxic, though, man. My wife uses it. It's
really
like if you ever walk into a cloud of dry shampoo, it's like your lungs immediately become like cement.
Well, I tell you what, I refuse to take shampoo. I want real poo, none of that sham stuff. Sorry.
Guys use the 6-in-1 wash. Wash your car with it and
6-in-1, yeah. It's paint thinner, hair.
It's a floor cleaner and a furniture topping.
Basically,
dessert topping. I have no idea. If you want to say it's dry shampoo, I'll go with that.
I don't know. I mean,
I just don't think they would find it if it were in dry shampoo.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think enough people care about dry shampoo.
I'm gonna pick dry shampoo because that's the only one that makes sense.
All right, let's do dry shampoo.
Yeah, nice job, Patty.
Chicken dinner.
Nice job.
I'm gonna tell my wife to stop using that shit. That's nasty.
Yep.
So certain dry shampoos, including some Dove, Nexus, Suave, TIGI, and Tresemme products, voluntarily recalled. I got to check out the shit that my wife uses because
I got some comments about this next one.
I
walked into she like sprayed it one time. I walked into a cloud of it, and I was hacking for like a half hour. So wouldn't be surprised. All right, question number 7. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's husband, Paul Pelosi, was recently attacked in a violent home break-in. In which city did the attack occur? San Francisco, Washington, Alexandria, or Potomac?
Who didn't watch this?
We know it was San Francisco.
It was San Francisco because Nancy was not there.
So did you see Donald Trump Jr.?
Yes.
Posted a picture on Twitter of underwear and a hammer.
Yeah.
Said he was going to go as Paul Pelosi for Halloween.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing. He meant that to be a rag on Paul Pelosi, but that was among the nastiest underwear I've ever seen. Dude, what are you saying by yourself by posting a picture of that underwear? That looks like underwear that his father threw out and he was worn a couple times. It was ridiculous.
Actually, did you ever see the underwear that the underwear bomber was wearing?
Yes. Yes.
It was skittered. It was not your Sunday best. Let's just put it that way. I mean, it was some pretty nasty stuff.
You know what? The old Fruit of the Loom tighty whities, those have got to go. Right? What is wrong with us that we are still allowing people? Like, I'm not in favor of authoritarianism, but I would make those illegal in a heartbeat. I had so many traumatic memories from my childhood of running around.
Wrenching up.
Exactly. Tidy whities are terrible. But I will say that, a lot of the extraneous comments came from the fact that, first of all, the police did blow the initial report.
They did.
They indicated that there was a third person there, which now is apparently not true, and everybody agrees on it. Now, is it a cover-up? I don't know. I choose to believe that.
Well, you say everybody agrees on it, but once
everybody who
gets out there, the conspiracy theorists are like, "Oh, there was a third person there," you know.
Everybody who's there now has the same story, and I personally believe, having tried to work together in a group,
underwear of mass destruction.
Underwear of mass destruction. Yes, I agree.
Love it.
All right.
Yeah, I mean,
It's just
yeah, I mean, it's going to feed into a narrative. There are going to be the conspiracy theorists who think that something nefarious. Now, the only thing that I said when they identified a third person was perhaps he was there with a mistress.
I mean,
That's the most plausible thing. I mean, if there was another person there, it would have been a mistress that was there because Nancy wasn't there. But
yeah.
it doesn't matter. Like, he was attacked by somebody. And for me, like the whole thing with the political ads, like here, Dan, we're in, the DC media market. We see all these ads for
I honestly don't. I don't watch television anymore.
Oh, well, there you go.
And I have ad-free YouTube.
Yeah, the ads that tie all the Democrats to Nancy Pelosi are just ridiculous. And you thought that maybe the day after the attack, maybe they'd pull them back and maybe throw some more positive spin ads about their own candidates out there. No, they're running just as hard against tying all the Abigail. I can't remember her last name, but
Adams.
No, not Abigail Adams. It was Raffensperger or something like that, who is one of the Northern Virginia congresswomen. Tying her to Nancy Pelosi, and of course they had Nancy Pelosi almost as the devil incarnate.
Right. Yeah.
You think they would have backed off for a day or two, but no, just continue to throw that shit out there.
Anything they can do to divide us into smaller and smaller pieces.
Yes, moms are the best. All right, question number 8. Which extremely rare item is expected to fetch up to $30 million in an upcoming auction? George Washington's journal, keys to the White House, first edition copy of the U.S. Constitution, or original Senate gavel?
So I don't think that it could be George Washington's journal or the original Senate gavel, because those are actually unique. And so I don't think that they would auction them. I think that they would have been given to the country. And so now, keys to the White House, I don't think there's any keys to the White House. So my guess is that it's going to be a first edition copy of the U.S. Constitution. Yeah. And one of the interesting things about it is that I believe some of them have slight differences in each other.
Because it wasn't like they were put on the printing press.
Exactly. It's not
hand scribed.
So this is probably one of the ones without the 3/5 compromise. And
that would be nice.
Right. It's the one with 5 commas in the Second Amendment. That's my guess. Patty, what do you think?
I don't know at all. I would say George Washington's journal, because I can't see anyone paying that much money for the other things, but I don't know.
Well, I mean, I will go as we always do with the quiz. We go off of kind of the context clues of what we see in the.
It does look like a piece of paper.
Blurred picture. It looks like a piece of paper. So it's either going to be the journal or the Constitution. It's not going to be the gavel or the keys. So I'm with Dan. I think it's going to be the Constitution, original copy of the Constitution. We don't have to steal it like Nicolas Cage.
Right. First edition.
First edition. It is.
Yep.
Correct. You have first edition U.S. Copy of the U.S. Constitution will go under the hammer in New York next month. Is that $30 million? Yeah, that's nice. If I win Powerball tomorrow night,
yeah,
I probably won't bet on that one. I will go in and steal the Declaration of Independence.
I think I
got $1.5 billion.
Well, what's interesting though is that it's rumored that Trump is bidding on this so that he can tear it up.
I wouldn't be surprised. All right, question number 9. Which animal slipped loose from an enclosure at the Sydney Zoo this week, prompting a full lockdown? Although Sydney is very used to lockdowns.
Yep.
Gorillas, lions, elephants, or snakes? I will go with lions because that was one of the
The
context
picture that we saw at
clues.
the beginning, exactly.
Yeah.
But I still think if you read them all, can you read all the options again so that we can say "oh my" at the end?
Yeah. Gorillas, lions, elephants, and snakes.
Oh
Oh
my!
my.
Yeah, I would say lions too.
Yep.
Yeah, they busted loose this week. Some guests were rushed to safety after 5 lions managed a brief escape from their closures at Sydney's Taronga Zoo. No people or animals were injured in the incident. I'm glad that no animals were injured. I don't care about the people, just no animals.
Yeah, I have gone. I'm pretty anti-zoo now. There's a few exceptions, like San Diego, and I don't mind birds and dumb animals. Primates shouldn't be in cages. Cetaceans, stuff like that.
I really have a problem with zoos. Like Patty, I've been to the Albuquerque Zoo several times.
I haven't been to Albuquerque. I've been to a few other ones. The ones in Michigan and in Cincinnati, and
especially things like the polar bears that are there, bears, the larger mammals, because you see the
conditions.
The condition that they do this. A lot of cage owners will do this repetitive loop every day, like for several hours a day, just doing this repetitive loop because they're caged and that's all they can do.
Yeah,
and that's why I have a problem with zoos.
Now,
I'm much
Dave,
more
have you-
preferable to the open air zoos.
Have you been to the National Zoo, Dave?
I have been many
I
years
think,
ago, but it's been
Like that thing, the orangutan thing. So people who haven't been at the National Zoo, there is essentially a high wire about 100 feet up in the air that the orangutans can climb on, and so they really have freedom. They can go from area to area, not get in your way, walk back and forth. It's amazing. Something like that.
They can go right from the House to the Senate
Exactly.
with no problem at all.
That's very funny.
All right, question number 10. Which of the following was awarded the best cheese for 2022? Best cheese: cheddar, brie, Gruyere, or Havarti?
I'm looking at the picture and I see a red rind, I think. And I think
Anything old farty?
I can't be Gruyere. All right, let's just rule Gruyere out.
Too bougie.
Yeah, but it's the fondue cheese. It's not going to be the best cheese.
I do love me
Brie
some fondue,
and
though.
cheddar could be. I love fondue. Because
It's
of the
not
red.
brie.
You think brie? I think
No.
Havarti-
It's not brie. I'm
It's not
thinking it's either cheddar or old farty cheese.
because of the red rind. I think Havarti, but
Patty, what you got?
I'm gonna say cheddar, but because I have no idea.
I mean, cheddar is awesome. I love cheddar.
all right. What's the audience say? The audience is quiet.
The audience on TikTok. What do you say on TikTok? We got one person watching on TikTok. Do we have anything? No. All right.
All right.
We're gonna go with cheddar.
All right, idiots.
Yeah. Oh,
Oh, it was
it's
Gruyere.
Gruyere!
Unbelievable. And that wasn't a rind, it was some stupid apron.
Yeah,
That's a duplicitous picture.
bastards. So Gruyere won it. This year's winner, Gruyere from Switzerland. I would love to be from Switzerland. It rose above more than 4,400 cheeses to claim the title. That's amazing. All right. So we got 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
Not bad. We got a solid B. Actually,
Yep.
a B minus, but that's fine.
I watched a great show over the weekend talking about how evolution is a C student. Evolution doesn't care anything about being best. You just have to pass the test. That's it.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's really the first past the post of everything, like 50.1 plus one, or
Yeah.
if there are several things competing, just the plurality, because it's going to be the one that replicates itself.
Yeah, and they
Beyond
talk about like all these biological insane things that happen in different bodies. Like, for example, in the giraffe, giraffe's mouth is up here and the larynx is at the back, but the nerves run all the way down the neck and then back up the other side so they can control the larynx. And they're like, but you know what? It worked. The C student of science evolution said, that's good enough. Ship it.
Exactly. Whatever mass produces the most easy.
Yep.
Is the one that wins. All right. So this week, the Libertarian U.S. Senate candidate Mark Victor dropped out of the Arizona Senate race. Now, one thing we have to remember about Arizona is that Arizona does vote by mail, and most of the ballots have already gone out. So Mark Victor's name appears on every ballot in circulation now.
Yeah.
But he dropped out and enthusiastically supported Blake Masters, the Republican candidate. So, previously before that, Dave Smith, the presumptive 2024, Libertarian Party nominee for the Libertarian Party, endorsed Blake Masters. Angela McCardle has been less than enthusiastic about Mark Victor's campaign and saying, well, it really depends on whether it's a good GOP candidate or a bad GOP candidate.
Well, to be,
you guys know much about this guy? Because I was going to say, I hadn't heard anything about him until just a few weeks ago. I went and watched his whole debate, and I thought he was outstanding. Like, I've listened to a lot of libertarians debate, and most of them can't hold their own. He did a really good job debating it, and I don't know him.
Mark is a lawyer in Arizona, so he's going to be decent at debating. Now, the problem I have with his debate is that when he was pinned down about, things about, what is the worst thing is about the state having control, he went immediately to age of consent laws.
I must have not seen that because I watched that and I didn't hear that. So I don't know.
I mean, that was Dave Smith's complaint about him. And to be fair, Dave Smith didn't like him before he dropped out of the race.
But
yeah, exactly.
From what I could tell, the guy is a criminal defense attorney and he has reasons to feel that way. I have, I'm one of the people that got screamed at Republican when I said, hey, we need to be consenting adults. But I also understand the argument that regarding that, and I don't necessarily think that makes somebody a bad choice.
For me, the of all the transgressions of the state and state laws and all the bullshit that goes on with government, one of the lowest things on the totem pole of that is age of consent laws. Like, if that's the first thing that you move to, like this week I got into an argument with somebody about the transgressions of government, and the first thing they brought up was the 1950s integration of schools as coercive government. Was the government coercive? Absolutely, but they were coercive towards a state government. That's not a libertarian ideal. Like, right. I'm good with the federal government stepping in to protect individuals having the right to go to get an education where if you're paying for the public school education, you should be able to go wherever you want to go.
Right. Right. I mean, a great example that we were talking about earlier, right? When Rosa Parks had to sit at the back of the bus or refused to sit at the back of the bus. Okay. That was the law in Montgomery, Alabama. It wasn't the policy of the Montgomery, Alabama busing company. They would have been happy to. And in fact, later on, they were broken by the boycott.
Yeah.
So it was the government that was discriminating. And so if you're going to tell me that the federal government telling a state government that it can't impose laws that requires people to discriminate is an overreach of federal power, it's the one sole purpose for me of the federal authority is to make sure that states
Protect
don't
individual
violate
rights.
individual civil rights.
Yes. And that was the thing. Like, to me, you can't make that argument that the state is infringing on the state government.
Yeah, and we're about to see a great example of it, one that every Republican should love. Okay. People in Massachusetts and California and other places are going to get the right to carry concealed weapons because the federal government is standing up for their civil liberties. Now, the federal government doesn't want to be doing that, but the Supreme Court ruled, and that's what's going to happen. So now, even though I live in this crazy state where, frankly, it's illegal for me to say GUN aloud. No, I'm just kidding. It's not that. But it is, I can get my concealed carry permit if I didn't have one already, which I'm not saying that I do. I'm not saying that I don't. But that's a great thing. That's what the federal government is supposed to do, is to protect my civil liberties as guaranteed to me by the Constitution against the state government. Exactly. It's not supposed to do all that other crazy shit. Yeah.
All right. So before we end tonight, let's go through our predictions for Tuesday night. We've got several races coming up. And I'm going to bring up the race here. So the Pennsylvania Senate, Oz Fetterman, Libertarian is Eric Gerhardt, and the Keystone candidate is Dan Wasserman.
It's going to go Oz, Fetterman, Wasserman, Gerhardt. In that order, Oz will be declared the winner. Oof. I mean,
Patty, what you got?
I'm thinking the same as him. I'm not real necessarily.
I mean, I don't want Fetterman to win for the same reason I don't want Walker to win. The guy is not competent. Okay. He is not right mentally right now.
I think a stroke is an interesting thing. I don't think it's not that his mental capacity is not there. I think that when it comes to a stroke, that when it comes to a stroke, that the connection between the brain and the mouth does not work. The brain still works. Yeah. Aphasia still works. It's just that he is not able to communicate as well. I don't hold that as much against him as I do what is going on with Walker. I think Fetterman pulls it out barely because of Josh Shapiro winning handily in that state as far as governor goes. I think the coattails for Shapiro are going to carry Fetterman over the finish line versus Oz. Wasserman and Gerhardt are going to be very close in that race. But yeah, I think Fetterman holds that seat, but it's still going to be a very long night as far as the Senate goes.
Should we just talk briefly about Gerhardt's comments about welfare?
Yeah, Gerhardt really stepped in it in local comments about welfare.
In the third party debate.
Yeah, it was a third party and it was third party debate over multiple offices. So it wasn't just the governors. Right. It was Senate and House and a bunch of other candidates. He stepped in it and said that he was the low man on a totem pole when it came to welfare benefits because he's a white guy.
Yeah.
The debate moderators challenged him to produce statistics, and he never did.
Yeah.
And dumbass.
Yeah, he essentially said, "I'm being discriminated against because I'm a white man." All right, next race.
All right, next race, Arizona Senate. Republican candidate is Masters. The Democrat is the incumbent Mark Kelly, and the Libertarian. I'm going to include him because he still remains on the ballot.
Right.
Mark Victor.
Even though Kelly is going to win, Mark will still be the victor. Sorry. Wow. I couldn't resist that one. It was too easy.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
All right, but Kelly's polling over 50%.
Yeah, I think Kelly wins this one because
he's an astronaut.
Yeah, I mean that I think the Victor dropping out actually was dumb because was after early voting started in Arizona. Again, mail-in ballots. Almost half of the mail-in ballots have already been returned by the time he had actually dropped out. So I think his impact on that race is going to be minimal versus had he dropped out 2 weeks ago before the mail-in votes were eligible to be taken out.
I mean, early voting skews Democrat, so maybe there are people who are still waiting, but
Yeah.
I don't think this race is going to be. I think Kelly's going to be over 50%.
Patty, what you got?
Well, I was thinking the same thing, and I'm still trying to figure out why he decided to withdraw 1 week. Like, I just can't figure
Oh,
out
I mean, we know they gave him a lot of money. They agreed to sponsor his foundation for the tune of, a fair bit of money. 6
Oh,
figures.
wow. Okay. I didn't know that, but there we go.
Well, he said in his interviews no, but I'm inclined to believe you.
All right. So this is the race that will probably not be decided on Tuesday, but give me who you think leads after Tuesday. And this is the Georgia Senate race.
I think it's going to be Warnock. My guess is going to be Warnock 44, Walker 42, and Oliver at 10%. Wow,
that high. I love Chase, and I think that in a better situation he would poll at 10%. I think traditionally voters flee from the libertarian candidate towards the end of the election. We saw it with Sarvis in 2014. We saw it with some other candidates, Gary Johnson in 2016. That voters tend to filter away from the libertarian candidate. I do think that Warnock leads at the end of the night. It's going to be very close, but I do think it's going to be like 48-47. I do think that Warnock's going to win the second the general election because all of the money is going to be focused on that at the end. But what do you got, Patty?
Well, I'm honest. I lived in Georgia for 8 years, so I'm like not really this one. I really can't. I don't have a strong prediction, but I don't think the Libertarian will do that well unless you guys know something I don't know.
Well, I think Chase is going to pull like probably 4% in that race.
That's kind of what I'm thinking too.
He has pulled as high as 8.
Yeah, I think the normal progression. And don't get me wrong, I love Chase Oliver. If I was in Georgia, I'd vote for Chase Oliver. I'd find ways to vote for Chase Oliver multiple times.
Here's the thing: I am not discounting the secret racist in Georgia vote.
Yeah, that's what I don't know. Georgia's.
But
I just we'll see.
I'm not discounting the Georgia football fan.
That is my next
everywhere
question.
outside of the donut of Atlanta. The rural voters who think that Herschel is one of the good black good black people and will represent them well in the Senate. I think Herschel is going to trounce everywhere around Atlanta. Can Atlanta, Savannah, and Augusta turn out enough to overcome what Herschel Walker does in the rural parts of Georgia? I think that they can. I think the abortion issue is going to play much better for Warnock in the suburbs of Atlanta, especially the counties like Gwinnett, DeKalb. Those counties, Fulton County, are going to really turn out heavily for Warnock, and will overcome what Herschel Walker is going to do in rural Georgia. But that's my feeling. Chase, I think, gets to 4%. I think Chase forces, and that's the other question is, does it go to a runoff? I think there's no way that it doesn't go to a runoff.
I agree. Same thing for Georgia governor, I'll say.
I think Kemp wins. I think Kemp wins.
Really?
Outright, yeah. He's outpolling even in non-Republican polls. he's outpolling Stacey Abrams by 6 or 7%,
Interesting.
and over 50% in each of the polls. So, all right, next race, Arizona governor, Kari Lake, former TV show host, election denier, kind of batshit crazy, versus Katie Hobbs, the Democratic nominee. I think she's like Secretary of State or something like that.
I have no idea.
Got any feelings on this race, Patty?
I don't have a strong guess, but I think Kari Lake might do well. I think people like her. I think she's well spoken, and that's when I'm kind of interesting. That I don't know, but that would be who I would pick. She's getting a lot of attention, and she talks well.
Yeah, I think Kari Lake is leading the Real Clear Politics poll of polls. The only problem with the Real Clear Politics is that in the recent days they've included 2 really heavily Republican polls in a lot of these races, which have skewed the numbers. I think it's going to be very close. This could go well into the night. I think that this may be a race where Kelly actually helps Hobbs over the line, but I think if I'm going to prognosticate right now, I'm going to say Kari Lake wins it, which, damn shame for democracy, but
It's Arizona. All those people deserve that.
All right, Georgia governor. We've got Brian Kemp, the incumbent, versus Stacey Abrams, the perennial Democratic darling, and then the Libertarian Shane Hazel.
It's tough. You're right. I was looking at it. 538 has Kemp at 51%. But I don't know why. I think that there's going to be a runoff. I think that Hazel pulls entirely from Kemp. Okay, unlike a lot of libertarians who skew, and pull evenly from Republicans and Democrats, Hazel's not pulling anything away from Stacey Abrams. But I think that he is going to pull from Kemp. And so I would not be surprised to see Kemp finish at 49, Abrams at 45, 46, and Hazel with 1.5% or 2.
I think Kemp goes over 50. I think he wins this one probably 52, 53%. I think that Abrams has dramatically underperformed, from the first race where they thought she could have won that race and it was close.
Yeah.
The next race, she's dropped a little more. I think she's going to drop even more now. I think people
this is
a little bit of fatigue with Stacey Abrams.
If she loses, this is her last election.
Should be.
And it does come back to another point. Americans generally will not elect a person who is overweight. As unfair as that is, the average weight of men in Congress is 170 pounds. The average weight of women in Congress is 115 pounds. I completely made those numbers up. I have no idea.
Wow. My ass is never getting in Congress. Damn it.
But I do think that it's true. If you think about it, right? I mean, there are most people and most elected officials. So this part is true. So they took pictures of all the state house races in California one year, and they took the pictures around the country. They took them up and down the East Coast and said, just based on political appearance, who would you vote for? And just based on physical appearance, who would you vote for? Within 5%, almost all the time, people just generally vote for the better looking candidate.
Yeah.
And so, in this case, Stacey Abrams is, continued to unfortunately be large, which obviously I'm not biased against, but the public is.
All right. So what you got, Patty?
I'm going to tell you, I don't know on this one. I don't keep up with this. So I some of them I do, but I don't know on this one.
All right. Well, let's take a look at a state you've been very close to, Michigan.
That one. Oh my God. Michigan. You want me to call Michigan? Michigan's crazy.
Now, Michigan, I will say, and this is crass, I understand, but Michigan has some really attractive politicians. Like I have, Gretchen
Sure.
Whitmer is. In fact, I got the names wrong here. It's Tudor Dixon is the candidate for the Republicans. Gretchen Whitmer is the Democrat.
Yeah, I was trying to figure that out. I think Gretchen. I've been hearing from them, and I think Michigan's going to go reelect Whitmer, and people aren't going to like it. But I think that's what's going to happen. And I'll be honest, I have some reasons for thinking that I don't that I want to say them.
I think Whitmer wins. Yeah, I think Whitmer.
I think
So
Whitmer wins
the
as well.
divide in Michigan is so, because I that's where I'm from. It's so extreme that I think if you could get somebody, I don't know. I just think it's going to be Whitmer again. Even if she's not my favorite person, I think that's who they're going to pick.
Yeah, me too. Another state close to you, Governor of New Mexico, Mark Ronchetti, a media personality for Channel 13 News, Michelle Lujan Grisham, the current incumbent, and Karen Badani, the Libertarian candidate. Who do you think gets this election?
Hands down, Lujan Grisham. I'm sure she's going to win. And I'm not voting I'm either writing in my friend Ginger Grider or skipping that, because all the candidates in New Mexico are.
Badani is a Trumper.
Yes, and I feel bad, but I don't, because she's not a libertarian, and if she had something on her website that was remotely libertarian, I could vote for her anyway. But she's a pissed off Republican that's using our ballot, and Ronchetti I can't vote for. So I don't know who I'm voting for, but I think Lujan Grisham is going to win.
I think so too. The state of New Mexico is trending Democratic. And
let me make my usual pitch of if there's a candidate who you think is going to legitimately put up some good numbers on a write-in campaign, write them in. But otherwise, you're just making work for the poll workers.
Sure.
Having been the poll worker who had to count a bunch of handwritten things before I could go home at the end of the day.
I hear you. All right, the final two predictions. Who is going to control the U.S. Senate?
You're not going to do the New York governor?
No.
All right.
Who's going to control it? It's currently 50-50. Who's going to control?
I mean, the toss-up races are Arizona, Georgia, and Pennsylvania. And I think it's going to be Democrats in Georgia and Arizona and Republican in Pennsylvania. And so I think that means the Democrats will have 51-49.
Patty, what you got?
Well, my instincts are that it's going to be Republicans, but I don't know that. But that's my instincts, just because of the way the economy is and how many Democrat friends I know that have said they're thinking about voting Republican.
Yep. All right. For me, I think it's going to be 50-49 going into the runoff with Warnock again. And we're going to see a ton of money put into Georgia. And I think we're going to end up 50-50 again for the final 4 years of the Biden presidency. All right. Control of the U.S. House. I think it's pretty clear that the Republicans are going to win U.S. House. It's by how much control they're going to have in the U.S. House. I think they're going to be around 235 seats in the U.S. House, which is going to be a net gain of about 20 or almost 30 seats.
Yep. It's interesting that the Roe versus Wade didn't have as much impact as people thought it was going to, but the Dems have certainly done everything they could to screw this up. And so they deserve to lose it.
Yeah. What you got, Patty?
I am going to go with you, whatever you guys are saying.
All right.
I
All
do
right.
think, yeah, my one thing is that, I personally prefer a house divided anyway. And so
Sure.
as long as one of the branches is different from the other two, I'm fine.
Yeah. All right. Well, that should do it for us for the week. Thank you, Patty, for joining us. You're welcome to come back and join us anytime.
Okay.
Anything else you want to say before we head out?
No, I appreciate this. This is my first show besides my little well, I did some when I campaigned. I did a few of this, but it's been a while. So yeah, I would I've been following you guys for a while. I like what you're doing, and anything I can do to get you guys to blow up, I would like to help with. So, and if anyone's still watching,
Yeah,
I have my little YouTube channel, Patty for Liberty.
Yeah. Patty for Liberty on YouTube. Come on, Papa Duke on YouTube as well. Give us a like, a share, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell button on both of our channels. Get reminded when our shows go live or we've got a new content going up. So again, Tuesday night, we've got election coverage starting at 7 p.m. So again, thanks for joining us tonight, and we will see everyone next week.
All right.
Have a good one, everybody.
Bye, guys. Don't forget to vote.